All right, folks, so we are going to take a look at some techniques for making bacon and eggs. Let's start with eggs. I'm going to start over here and make some eggs. Eggs are a very organic shape. So I'm going to start with geometric shape, the ellipse tool, and I'm just going to draw out a circle. So I'm going to go into the direct selection tool, and I'm going to start to adjust my shape by pulling out the handles. Let's put a very light gray color on it so you can see it. You can add points to your egg shape with the Add Anchor Point tool. Click on here, and then you can pull other shapes out like that. Yolks are generally round when they cook, unless they break. So I can make a yolk right here and make it a yolk color. And there is a very simple egg. If I wanted to take this to another level, I could make a copy of this egg, make a copy of that egg shape, make the one behind it slightly darker so there's a little bit of a shadow. I could make another ellipse on top, and I can, with the direct selection tool, modify that shape. And let's make it this color, but we'll make a new color swatch and bring down that color slightly so it's a little bit lighter yellow. Just lighter enough to create a little bit of a highlight on the egg. You can also do things like make little bubbles in the egg. So this is just a series of circles that I'm going to make copies of just to give a little bit of texture so it looks like the egg surface has a little bit of texture. You can also make the egg using a pen tool, just clicking and dragging a very organic shape out. Got to close that shape. Oops, that was kind of messy. Close that shape, fill it with a color. I really like how pointed that is, so I'm going to click on the corner options and smooth that out. Make my yolk again, drawing a perfect circle holding on to Shift, and there's my yolk. So that's making eggs. When you make, two eggs are not exactly the same. There's a little bit of variation, so you can make a copy of your whole egg, and you can rotate it and slightly resize it if you need to. When they're stacked on top of each other like that, it helps to have like this drop shadow, or you can add a drop shadow under effects, stylize drop shadow, create a very subtle drop shadow on this egg. If you wanted to, I would take down the offset lower and take down the opacity so it becomes very subtle. Okay, I probably wouldn't put a drop shadow on the yolk though. So let's take the drop shadow off the yolk. I'm going to bring this to the front. Okay, so you get a little drop shadow there. If we want to put the same drop shadow on the other egg, I'll play the same drop shadow, and now I have two eggs for my plate. This yolk seems out of proportion for this egg white, so I'll make that bigger. So there's a couple different ways to make eggs. All right, let's look at bacon. So for bacon, I have a few different techniques to show you. I'm going to move this over here. Oops. For bacon, there's a few different techniques that you can go with. For this very realistic looking bacon, I actually brought in a picture of bacon and I made a template layer of it. I double clicked on the layer and turned it to a template so that it would fade to 50% and it locks it. And then on a layer above it, I can begin to trace the bacon with the pen tool. I just grabbed the pen and started to click and drag out a very natural shape. Let me zoom in here on this. I will turn off the fill color so you can see it. So here I'm just kind of clicking and dragging, trying to follow the lines to make this bacon. I've got my left hand on my space bar so I can activate it and move my field of vision quickly if I need to. Again, I'm just clicking and dragging, space bar, move, click, drag, space bar, move. I got to close this by coming back to the very first anchor point I made and seeing that circle appear next to my pen tool to close it. And now I have a completed shape. Okay, so there it is. And then, just like I did with the lava flow or with the peacock feather, I started to sample colors from this image of the bacon to start to fill this bacon with color. So there's one color. And in this particular style of bacon, I just made a bunch of copies of this. And I started to sample different colors from the bacon itself. Choose this one here. We'll choose a different color there. Bacon kind of has lots of different colors in it. You don't want your bacon to look raw, by the way, so make sure you choose the right colors. Sampling it from an existing picture is a good way to start. Let's add another one of these in here. And depending how far or close I drag them apart, that kind of helps get these variations in the strips of the bacon. So let's see if I can choose something that's a little more brown. There we go. That's a little more brown. So I have all of these. They kind of look like the state of California went backwards to me. I'm going to make one more copy of this, and I'm going to turn off the fill, and I'm going to put it right on, let's see, where did it go? I'm going to bring it to the very front. I right-click to get that option. We want it at the very front of all of our layers. So in this layer of bacon that I'm making, this is the path I just made. Let me actually put a stroke on that path so you guys can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip all of this bacon that I just made to this particular path up here. Let's see if I can make it work. So I select everything. I go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And the shape that I created on top clipped everything underneath it. And then if I wanted to, I could go back in and I can edit the contents, Object, Clipping Mask, Edit Contents, and I could adjust individual pieces here and points to get a little bit more organic and natural variations in that bacon, just to make it look a little bit more natural. So that's how I made that bacon. Now, I think you need 3 strips of bacon on your plate. So let's make a copy by clicking and dragging that out. Click and drag, click and drag. I would probably flip by right-clicking, transform, reflect. Click OK so that you get a little bit of variation. Maybe make some of it a little bit bigger. Every strip of bacon is not exactly the same. This one probably rotate as well. Again here and stick it. Let's bring that to the top. Arrange, bring to front. So just like we did with the eggs, you want to put maybe a little drop shadow or something on these bacon pieces to make them look a little bit more separated. So I'm gonna, let's apply the same drop shadow. You can go down to Effect, Stylize, and Drop Shadow, or you can apply the exact same effect you just used by clicking right up here. And I gotta actually be on the thing. And I don't like that one. It's a little bit too far apart, far away from the bacon. So let's go to Drop Shadow, and we're going to make it even tighter. Just 2, offset by 0.02. We'll bring down the opacity even more. Click OK. Now I'm going to apply that same effect to this piece of bacon and the same effect to this piece of bacon. Let's move this over here so you can see. There's my bacon. So that's one technique that's a little bit more complicated than some of these others. So let's look at these other techniques right here. So you can make bacon using envelope distort and make with more warp. I just made rectangles And you can make multiple rectangles. Command D, Command D, Command D to make multiples. I can sample color from over here using my real picture of bacon to sample color so I can get some natural bacon colors. Choose another color up here. Get into this brown over here. Okay. So there's these 4, 5 strips right here that I just made as rectangles. Once I have selected all of that, I can go up to Object, Envelope, Distort, Make with Warp. And there's all these drop downs here. I think it's probably Rise or something like that that I selected. And you can play around with how it works here. I don't really think this is a very realistic piece of bacon, but it is a way to do it. There's flag, so there's one way to do it. Okay. Here's another one using the shape builder and the pen tool plus envelope distort to make with warp. So we'll start again with those individual strips. Command D, Command D, Command D. Let's select some colors on this bacon. Choose some different colors for my bacon. Want to get in there, yeah. Over here, I'll put one more strip of this up here. All right, so what I want to do here is I've got my basic strip of bacon here. I'm going to make the shape of bacon just kind of an organic shape. You can either follow something here or just make something with the pen tool, clicking and dragging. Don't want it to look like a piece of poo. I want it to look like bacon. Close the shape. And then, let's see. I can clip this. What I said, shape builder tool. But I can select over this, and I can use the shape builder tool to hold down Option and drag over the stuff that I don't want to be in there. And then I can clip it if I wanted to. Probably just clip it to begin with. So there's another way to make the bacon. You can even then, on top of that, put an envelope distort, make with warp, and you can warp it further if you wanted to. Okay. I think I already showed you this one where you basically create the strips and then you put a shape of bacon on top of it and then you just simply clip it. I made this line though with the brush tool, not the pen tool. So let's try this again. I'll just demonstrate this very last one. So there's bacon, 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 bacon. I love bacon. Who loves bacon? Everybody loves bacon, unless you're vegetarian. Then you don't love bacon, and that's okay. I understand. All right, let's just try this. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Probably want to get some of these closer, farther. So rather than make this shape with the pen tool, I'm going to make it with the brush. So I'm just going to say, let's draw a piece of bacon shape like this. And then we'll put a brush on top. We'll turn that to black. Oops, not the fill, but the stroke, so you can see it. And then I'm going to select it all, Object, Clipping Mask, Make, and I just clipped that bacon there. You can also go back in and individually edit the contents, Object, Clipping Mask, Edit Contents, and you can adjust these bacon pieces on the inside if you wanted to. Okay, so a few different techniques here. You watched this technique, which yielded this kind of bacon, and we talked about eggs. Hopefully, you'll be able to make your own breakfast now.